Okay, so we move to evaluation quality control, and I will be talking about the evaluation of the global products. But before I start, I really want to acknowledge the large team of people who are contributing to this. So we have 12 institutes in the group, and basically a core group of about 30 people that contribute to the work. So it's a major effort, and you can see all the names here. The acronyms of the institutes involved is also given on this page. Okay, so what's evaluation and quality control all about? So the main thing that we do is compare the CAMS global products. So these are the forecasts, analyses, reanalysis products, and compare them against all the independent observations that we can get, and it's really an aim of us to make use of all the good quality data sets which are available worldwide. And that includes data from balloons, airplanes, data from space, from satellites. A very important sector is the one on the bottom, so the ground-based stations. So we have many ground-based stations doing all kinds of measurements. It's both in situ and also ground-based remote sensing, which is quite important for us, and also ships. And we get a lot of information from major observation networks. So we have the GAW, who is coordinating observations worldwide, ICOS, IAGOS, NDAC, ACTRIS, Aeronet, EEA, so these are examples of the major providers of information. And also CAMS is setting up contracts with these providers, and we make use of those, the data sets which are provided by those contracts. And it's very important that we also have near real-time data, so that's a very important aspect here. Okay, what I want to do is just give you a flavor of all the, I will not go through all the data sets and all the comparisons that we do, because that would take a couple of hours, I guess. But I want to give you a flavor of the kind of comparisons that we provide in our reports. And so we have comparisons of the global model against ozone zones. We also compare with satellite data like IASI. This is IASI ozone. Then we have satellite data on NO2, so we use multiple data sets there. We have ground-based remote sensing, FTIR data from the NDAC community. We have, of course, Aeronet, which we use extensively for AOD and aerosol evaluations. We make use of ICOS surface network data, so we have CO2, methane, that we make comparisons to. Satellite data in the stratosphere, so stratospheric profiles, mainly ozone profiles at the moment, where we compare the models against. A new thing is that we also look at UV now. So Marion already mentioned yesterday that this is an activity that moved to the validation contract, and so that's now included in our reports, thanks to FMI. And then so we make also extensive use of TICON for CO2 and methane validation. And we also have these routine aircraft measurements from IAGOS. And in this case, you see an ozone profile compared to, say, the O suite and control. But in fact, there are many more examples I could show. What's important to realize that our work is really an a posteriori evaluation. So we take the data which is available through the ADS, available to the users. We evaluate that data, and we provide information to the users about the quality of the data. So we are not so much contributing to the model development, but it's more really an a posteriori evaluation. So what have we achieved? So the project started the 1st of January of this year. And in fact, we have already produced 3 reports, so it has been quite a busy half year. First of all, we provide quarterly reports for the Global Near Real Time service. And we produced 2 validation reports in the past 5 months. And also we produced a validation report for the reanalysis to cover also the last year, 2021. So I think we can really claim that we provide continuity from CAMS1, and we really have a continuous flow of quality information for the services. Another thing that we do is we have this validation server where we have where we provide to people interested, to the users. We provide information of many different comparisons, basically the same comparisons that we have report in the report. We also have on the validation server. So this is a rich source. And very flexible interface where you can really, if you're interested in particular locations or particular data sets, then you can find the details of the comparisons against the models. So what we have been doing is, this has been developed during CAMS 84, but during the transition, and we had a 1-month gap also, but we have continued this service, and you can find the link to, if you don't know about this validation server, you can find the link here at the bottom. And again, so we can claim that we have continuity of service. So that's sort of continuity aspect. But what's really new, and what are we going to do in the coming year, let's say, and what have we already started to do as new aspects compared to last year? One thing that we did is we introduced another validation server. So we now have this Aeroval server, which was developed by Met Norway. And you can find the link there. So we have set up a separate page for CAMS 282 for this. And that's already up and running. And we are now increasing the number of data sets which are supported by this server. The idea is that this server will be complementary to the operational server. So the operational server is focusing on the near real-time products. This server is mainly meant to look at the reanalysis, so it will be used extensively for reanalysis evaluation plots. But also we can support a couple of experiments, so do test runs of the IFS model, which can be supported to sort of a limited extent. We look at upgrades of the model, so for the E-Suite we also plan to use this. And it's also complementary in the way it's presenting the information. So we have different types of plots, for instance heat maps, which we support. What's nice is that there is a synergy with the regional EQC that Michael will talk about after me. And we had this splinter session on the verification activities. So I think it's also good to discuss these servers with also the other contracts within CAMS and see if we can make use of each other's results. Okay. Another thing which is new is that we're making the global near real-time validation server much more up-to-date. So the way we have set it up is we have partners responsible for collections of measurements, and they are also responsible to add those measurements to the server. What we had before is that we had a requirement that last year that the data should be available within 3 months, sort of following the period of the reporting. But now we will move that to basically a fully automated procedure. So we want to make data when they come in. We want to make them available within a day. That's our new requirement, and we already had meetings to make this happen. Of course, we also depend on what kind of data we get. So some of the data is really coming just after a month, and then we can only provide it after a month, clearly. Another thing which is new is that we also want to team up more closely with the CAMS weather room. So already in the past, we looked at an analysis of extreme cases, because clearly predicting extreme cases is one of the core activities of CAMS. But we want to enhance the interaction with the CAMS weather room, for instance, by focusing on the same events. And also these daily updates that I mentioned should help to provide extra observational information to the CAMS weather room that they can use to evaluate the performance of the model. Another thing which is new, and this is maybe a bit more boring, we set up an internal reviewing of the validation reports, but personally I think this is quite an important point, and I'm really looking forward to this process in the coming years. So before, what we did when we made the report, we started off from a large number of contributions from the partners. Then we had editors who would condense that into the main sections and also harmonize the summary. Then we would ask feedback from the CAMS modelers and give them sort of a 1-2 week period for that. And finally, we got feedback from ECMWF before things are published on the internet. In practice, sort of this feedback from the CAMS modelers, we got feedback which was useful, but it's not very detailed. So what we decided to do is to introduce an internal reviewing round. So the new procedure is, first of all, we have less contributing partners. So the presentation will be more homogeneous than what we had before. And now we introduce this internal reviewing round. We have first 4 persons involved in that. It's like a peer review internally that we organize. But also another task of the reviewers is to provide a more process-oriented interpretation of the results. And one thing that we think about is this synthesis section, which will also improve the way that we present the results in the summary. Also, another thing I want to mention is that continuously we get additional data sets into the system. So in the proposal, we mentioned 64 data sets in near real time, and even more data sets for the reanalysis. So it's really a huge number. But I want to highlight just a few new data sets. So what's very interesting to see is that IAGOS is now providing greenhouse gas profiles. So we have CO2 and methane added to the latest validation report. So that's a very, very interesting step. Another thing that we are doing is preparing for the comparison with the ACTRIS LiDAR data and also with the European ceilometers, which are made available through this e-profile network. And Met Norway plays a role in these comparisons. And we will set up a website for this year, basically. Another thing which is new is that we have a separate work package on data mining, almost finished. So we will look in detail for data sets which are not yet used in the validation activity. And we have sort of a systematic procedure to look at those data sets, evaluate them, and when we really like the data sets, we will introduce them in the routine validation work. Strong focus on surface observations. So we have Europe, US, Canada, and China basically at the moment. But we really want to look at what's available within South America, Africa, and make use of the network of Guy Brasseur, who is leading sort of these networks with these continents. And also satellite data, we want to extend this part. And the evaluation of the stratospheric chemistry is an important topic for the future because this will be included in the 48R1. Okay, last slide. Another thing which is new is that there will be more focus and more attention for user support. It has not really started yet, but what I want to do is organize some meetings, especially with ECMWF, to discuss the content of this and see how we set this up. So the idea is that, for instance, the ADS will provide sort of very condensed and summarizing information about the data products, including validation aspects, and sort of a short recap of the reports in QA style. And yeah, this reminds me of a discussion we had at one of the user meetings several years ago, where someone came to me, yes, I like your summary, but do you also have a summary of the summary? And this is, I think, a very good question, and that's something that we hope to make available in this activity. Okay, so this summary of the summary brings me to my summary, and this is basically the points I discussed. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Henk. There's time maybe for one again burning, or there are many questions. Yes, we need to, unfortunately, keep it very short in the interest of the coffee break. So if it's maybe a longer question, you can...
Yours is burning.
So, but
what is the CAMS weather room?
I mean, I can briefly answer this maybe. So the CAMS weather room is led by Mark Parrington, and he looks at the CAMS results and tries to portray specific events for the public and also for ourselves, and gives us a better overview of what's actually going on in the atmosphere in terms of atmospheric composition. So we learned this from NWP, from the weather forecasting. They always discuss the weather, and there's always something interesting going on, and that's what we do also now in CAMS.